Think strategy, strategy, strategy. Yes, you want your college application essay to be, or personal statement, to be an authentic proclamation of self, who you are and who you are becoming. However, you also want to make sure that how you are delivering the content is maximizing your chances. Stick around and I'll share a couple of tips to maximize your chances. Thank you for joining me on my channel for the best college essay advice. Subscribe and hit the bell to be notified when I post a new video. The personal statement or college application essay is considered a soft factor in the college application ecosystem. So after the kind of competitive GPA in relation to rigor of coursework, right? So you want to take the hardest classes, most demanding classes you can, still do well in. And then your standardized test scores come the essays. And honestly, sometimes the essays come above the standardized test scores. But the essays are incredibly, incredibly important. So you want to think about them as having two components. My students say they're kind of like fangirling on yourself a little bit creatively, and then showing a critical capacity to kind of show smarty pants status. So with these two creative and critical dimensions to the essay, it almost doesn't matter what topic you settle on as long as it's not generic. Hi, I'm Dr. Josie with Write Your Acceptance. With hundreds of students in college or graduates by now, I know how to make the admission officers remember you and root for you. Now it's your turn. There are two dimensions that are key to a successful college essay: the creative, the anecdotes, and the critical capacity. You want to share about 1 to 3 anecdotes, basically emblematic stories or memories that showcase, that are raw material for then what you break down and analyze. You want to employ the 5 senses. I want to hear, taste, touch whenever applicable. And then also maybe consider writing out, once you settle on a couple of key stories, writing out the entire thing and then scanning until you find that line where the climactic moment is about to happen, where that kind of jolt in action happens. That may be a successful first line for the entire essay. Are you having trouble moving from a generic topic to very specific anecdotes? Comment below. The struggle is real. Comment with your topic. Would love to help. And then you can also see what your peers are working on. Don't forget to analyze. In so many ways, this essay is counter to our mile-a-minute lifestyle, but successful college essays allocate sentences, spaces where you can reflect, memorialize, break down, and synthesize what is happening in your anecdotes. So make sure you spend some time critically analyzing and break down any symbols, any images that you have in your stories. Most students fail at that section and just tell a beautiful story or a funny story or a heart-wrenching story, but are not showcasing that deep critical capacity. So here's a student example that moves from topic to anecdote plus analysis equals acceptance, ideally. So let's say a student wants to write about their 3-week stint at the hospital for appendicitis. First they were misdiagnosed, then they were properly diagnosed, and they underwent surgery. You want to start with an image, a story, a memory, an experience that gets us in there creatively. So for instance, they come back to this memory about their mom buying them a Lego set to build a car. And so maybe that is the beginning. Through anecdote, with imagistic language, they tell the story about receiving this Lego set and they start building the car, and then they zoom out and talk about where they are and how disinterested they are, kind of overhearing a little bit of the conversation between the doctor and the mom. Then they can move to actually finishing the car and talking about how ironic it is. The car symbolizes movement, mobility, freedom, and that is exactly what they lack in the confines of the hospital bed right now. And then maybe bonus, they want to study engineering. And then they talk about their pursuits of engineering and how they are interested in how insignificant, seemingly small pieces come together to make a more valuable or interesting whole. And so they kind of end with thinking about how they've learned to redefine well-being. They really kind of thought that that was the moment that they tuned into engineering in a very authentic and personal place. And they employed both creative techniques and critical analysis. So whether you start with an emblematic anecdote, you tell a quick story, or you start with analysis and then kind of connect it back to a story, make sure that you are injecting diversity, that you are starting with a snazzy, engaging, substantial first line. All videos in my channel, by the way. And make sure that you are vetting your topic so you are telling an authentic, compelling story, and it is strategic enough to showcase your best creative and critical self. If you want to get off YouTube search pages, come on to our website, writeyouracceptance.com. I have online content and community for you. I am advising students on their essays, and you have a free essay template download that can kind of loosely guide you on where you can plug what in. If you found this video helpful, please give us a like, comment below helpful, and share the video and other content from writeyouracceptance.com with your college-bound friends. Stay tuned for more. Thank you.